Zombies, pop culture's favorite monster. The dead rising again and roaming the streets near you.
The zombies' first pop culture appearance was in 1968, but they were thought up well before then. Yes, indeed. In fact, the idea of a zombie was first originated by African slaves who believed their punishment for taking their own life would be to wander the earth as literal walking dead. Okay, depressing facts aside, the first appearance of a zombie was in the movie Night of the Living Dead, which was your typical zombie thriller. Zombies have taken their bite out of modern pop culture, everything from Michael Jackson's Thriller to big horror movies. However, as the times have changed, so have the zombies. In the early 2000s, with the rise of dangerous contagions, this so-called zombie virus was born.
In short, this zombie virus has taken many forms over the years, but generally, it's an infectious virus that spreads quickly, turning people into violent, almost brainless, flesh-starved horror monsters that attack anything and anyone they see. But how would it work in real life? And how long would it take for total chaos to ensue?
It all starts at, well, the start. Where does a zombie outbreak begin? Well, to be honest, that's completely arbitrary. It could begin anywhere. Los Angeles, New York City, Fort Collins, Colorado. It doesn't really matter. And beyond that, there are a ton of other factors we need to consider. Yeah, there's a lot of things we need to consider here. Things like speed of the zombie, resistance to disease, infection rate, bite strength. Okay, yes, it's much more complicated than we thought it would be. So why don't we turn it over to someone who knows a lot more than... Wait a second, are those the emergency rations?
This is Dr. Zabel, who studies infectious diseases and something called prions.
Prions are a really different type of pathogen, unlike viruses or bacteria or fungus. But they do invade the brain, and they can make an infected individual act or appear zombie-like. So after you're infected or a bite, then the pathogen has to replicate in the host fairly quickly, right? So that then that person who has just been bitten becomes the next person to spread, right? Because if it takes too long to build up and replicate, then the host isn't going to be spreading it, right? So it has to replicate at sufficient rate so that that newly bitten person can now be a vector, right, and can transmit it again. So that's one thing. So typically we're not, eating each other, and we're not biting each other, and so that's why these diseases are probably not likely to cause a huge zombie apocalypse. But there is that one case, right, of kind of the same thing, right? This ritualistic cannibalism, consuming other people, and that is transmitting this zombie-like disease. The likelihood of a true sort of, Hollywood movie like zombie apocalypse probably isn't in the cards, right? But I think we've just experienced something that's pretty darn close to that.
Okay, so we know how fast a zombie virus can spread, especially through a populated area. But realism aside, how do you survive the zombie apocalypse?
Well, first and foremost, what you're gonna want to do is get away from everybody, because you never know who's gonna end up being a zombie. Escaping to places like wildernesses, away from the populace, is a great first start to surviving the first initial outbreak, but from then on there are a few important steps you need to take. First and foremost, only bringing people that you know and can verify are not infected.
Then once you're away from most of the population, what you're gonna need to do then is start setting up a shelter, much like this tent, and then go full Bear Grylls and go full survival man, including your own supply of food rations. Stop eating the food rations! And that is how you can survive the They're here.